Hello. John Simpson wrote this book called The Iraq Wars. And at the time, he was not an embedded journalist. He was going his own way with his own team, as opposed to the embedded journalists that were going, generally being escorted everywhere they went by the army, seeing what they were being shown. I'm telling you this story just to get an idea of an aspect of war that you don't always get. Anyway, John Simpson described in the first war, the Iraqi war, the Desert Storm, tra-la-la, he described how the desertion rate of the Iraqi troops was already at 30%, which is huge. They were demoralized, they lacked training, they lacked supplies, they were expected to forage for themselves when they were in Kuwait. And consequently, that led to bad behavior. But also, the field of battle he described was these Iraqis in trenches and Bradley armored vehicles coming along and just mowing through the trenches with electric cannons. And following them would come an Abraham's tank with a grader on it. And after that, for the dead and the dying, buried. And after that, a bulldozer would come along and clean up the job and completely hide all the arms and legs that might have been sticking out. So this perspective shows you that this great big glamorous war is a real massacre. It's not what you projected. Your enemy is not the enemy you thought, you led to believe. In this case, it was pathetically hopeless. But the casualties were very high to fit the story. And when they left Kuwait, they took a lot of hostages to get to the border safely. And when those vehicles were strafed on the highway, they were killed as well. And that was a turkey shoot. Go out there and see what you can do, boys. And they wrought havoc. This is an aspect of war. Another one was brought to us by Julian Assange. And that was the cool, well, not so cool, because there was this excitement in the air, and helicopter gunships locating, making an instant decision on deliberately misjudging a crowd of people just walking, not even a crowd, a group. Was it 14? Two of them were journalists hoisting their camera equipment off to do a day's work. Reuters journalists. And bam, 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 with incredible diabolical accuracy and huge caliber munitions, it just mowed these people down. Manning thought the world should see that, Chelsea Manning, and he gave the information to WikiLeaks and they published it. And to get to Julian Assange now, and I want to just give one example of The Guardian, although there's lots of others that benefited. But when Julian Assange showed up, he's like, here it is, boys. I've got it. I've got the goods. And they were agog, man, because this is not a source of a source. This is forensically proved through the new world of the internet. Oh, they said this, there, then, and what? And they're undeniable facts. And they loved him. They were running around, look at this, beyond the wildest dreams and so much of it. But then they instantly shat. And, you know, of course, you might have had a few genuine good journalists running around on the floor like, hey, this is great, you know, this is the future. But then the big boys are like, what are you looking at? What have you got there? Bam. Instantly it changes. Then they start running around. What should we do with this, boss? I mean, it's not right, is it, boss? And they ran and they shat. But what we want is the truth. These guys have got no interest anymore in telling us the truth. They want to go to work, get the dictate and put it out. And they will go to awful lengths to ensure that paycheck. They will knowingly lie and smear and hurl shit. It's a very foul, foul thing. You know, these are intelligent people and they know what they do. So just a few examples there. If, like last week, Partisan Girl on Twitter noticed the BBC had gone back and corrected a 2014 article that described the Kurds as nomadic. And they changed that to another sense that meant they belong there because of the new strategy. Now, if you're living in that environment where the past is completely being modified to agree with the present, which is just exactly what George Orwell described, then eventually nothing is real. If you're surrounded by lies, then you have a frontier, because if you go beyond it and you're actually carrying an inconvenient truth and shouting about it, then you will be pushed. You will find a reaction, a nasty reaction. If you stay in the paddock and listen to these journalists in the home paddock, spoon-fed, bottom-wiped journalists, then you're safe. So, you know, Julian Assange stands for everything that we need in this world. Everything.